Math 2, Unit 9, Lesson 5. Today we're talking about volume of spheres. If you look in your books, it's talking about surface area, I think, and volume. Is it? Yes. We are not going to be talking about surface area. We are only going to be dealing with the volume. Now, one thing I wanted you to look at, you know these yellow cards that I gave you? On the prisms, you just have to worry about the volume formula. That's the only one we're dealing with, okay? So when you have all these other formulas that are there, while they are correct formulas, we don't have to worry about them for this unit, okay? So we're only dealing with volume on each of these figures. Another thing I didn't know if you wanted to write down, but on the special right triangles, those are the two formulas that go with your 30, 60, 90, and you have the one formula that goes with your 45, 45, 90 triangle. So if you wanted to write those there for reference. Next week, we are going to end up taking, you have your test next week, but on Tuesday before your test, we are going to have a formula test, okay, where you need to be able to write down all the formulas, okay? Then you're going to end up being able to use that piece of paper on your test. Does that make sense? And so it's going to be part of your test. I'm going to give it to you the day before, and then I'll correct it. If you wrote something wrong, you'll get it wrong, but I'll write it incorrectly, and then you'll be able to use it on the test, okay? All right, so I'm going to set this aside. So do we all understand? We need to know each of the volume formulas, right? And then also you have these other formulas down here with your arc lengths, arc sectors, circumference. Yes? Okay. Does anybody need that still for a minute? Yes? Okay. So back to page 581, volume of spheres. We're actually going to move on now to page 584. And you have Theorem 101, volume of a sphere on page 584. Do you guys see that? Okay, so the volume of a sphere is, hopefully you can read it on yours, but if not, it is 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay, now there is a video on this that shows you why it is 4/3 pi r cubed, but it is pretty complicated. So I can show you that video later if you'd like to see it, but right now you guys can just take the formula as it is. Sound okay? All right. And so what I would normally do even is write this as 4 pi r cubed divided by 3. Sometimes looking at it like that versus the 4/3 makes more sense to me. And so what is the only piece of information you need in order to get the volume of a sphere? You just need the radius. That's it. Okay? And so it says a sphere has a diameter of 60 inches. What is its volume to the nearest cubic inch? And so when it says nearest cubic inch, that means we're going to round it to the nearest whole number, okay? And so what would be my radius on this figure? 30. So we're just going to plug 30 into this formula. We have 4 pi and then 30 to the third power divided by 3. So if I were you, I would type in 30 to the third power first in my calculator. And so I end up getting 4 pi times 27000 all divided by 3. And then you can multiply that number times 4, and then multiply that times 3.14, and then divide it by 3. Did you divide it by 3? You should have got 113040, which is 113,040 when I round it to the nearest cubic inch. And so that is inches cubed. Do we need to go through typing it into the calculator? Yes. Okay, so let me show you. All right, so looking at your calculators. So starting with, you want to do your power first. So type in 30. You see the arrow button that's right below the pi key? You press that. That means you're taking something to a power. So you press that and then press 3 and then enter. And so that gives you that number. And then once you have that number, then you can multiply. So I just go times 4 times 3.14. And I just press enter in between. You probably actually don't even have to do that. And then divide by 3. And so that's how I get that number. And I didn't have to round that one, actually. Okay, any questions there? Pretty specific? Yeah? Okay. Moving on. Practice problem number 5. And for some reason, I did not put down the page in the book. What page is practice problem number 5 on? Still 585? Okay. All right, so just pay attention to the directions. So it says find the volume of each sphere. Give each answer in terms of pi and round it to the nearest cubic inch. So we're going to give 2 separate answers. One is with pi being in our answer and one is without. But we want to round them to the nearest whole number. Okay, so first of all, what's my radius on here? 5, right? Yeah, you probably can't see my very well. That's 5 feet is our radius. So that means we have 4 pi and then 5 to the 3rd power divided by 3. So you always want to do your exponent first. So in your calculators, you're going to type in 5 to the 3rd power and then times 4 and then divided by 3 because that's going to give you your answer without pi. So I'm going to type mine in too here real quick. 5 to the 3rd power is 125. And then I multiply that by 4 and then divide it by 3. And so what would be the nearest whole number for that? So 167 pi feet cubed. And then I'm going to take that number and multiply it by pi. And I'm just going to multiply by 3.14. And that ends up making, to the nearest whole number would be, yeah, I pressed something wrong there. 167 times 3.14. Oh, I still keep typing it wrong. There we go. And so if you had left it in there, I got 523 originally. If you got 524, it's fine. But 523 feet cubed was actually correct when I left in the original problem. Okay, questions. So both of these answers are what should be there. Okay, number 6. Have they given me the diameter or the radius? The diameter. So how do I find the radius? So the radius will be what? Perfect. So to find our volume, we have what numbers?
4 pi, 4.2,
Divided by 3. Good. Okay, so you always want to type in your exponent first. Think about order of operations. You have parentheses and then exponents. So we're going to start without doing the pi. So we type in 4.2 to the 3rd power. And then we take that number right there and we multiply it by 4. And then we divide it by 3. And so if we're rounding to the nearest whole number, we get, did you guys get 98 or 99? Did I type something wrong again? Yeah, so I'd say it's 99 pi meters cubed, and then you're going to take that and multiply by 3.14. And we're just for, and he wasn't here, he didn't show up today, just so you know. But it's not a murder. Yeah, bye. Okay, so when you typed in 3.14, what did you get? It should actually round to be, well, 311. I have 310. Either way, you should be good. And again, this is meters cubed. Yeah, well, when I just typed it in from where my answer was, and I had the decimal, but I hadn't, if you took the rounded number, anyways, if you're close, you're okay.
Wait, so you have 4.2, and then you have 74.
What?
And I
Do we have any questions?
and then you have 74, and then I do times 4.
Well, it said to the nearest whole number, the nearest cubic meter or cubic unit. So,
And then you equal. And then it's not.
does anybody want to ask me questions? We're okay? All right, moving on. Problem 4. Using volume to find surface area. We're actually not going to exactly do what this says. So got it, problem number 4. Do you guys know what page this one is on? Which one? It's still 585? Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's probably why I didn't write them down. All right, so it says the volume of a sphere is this, okay? 4,200 feet. And it says, what is the surface area? I want you to cross this out. And the question is what is its radius? Okay, to the nearest. And I want you to do to the nearest whole number. So we're basically working backwards here. And so what is my volume formula? V equals 4 pi r cubed divided by 3, correct? So what we're doing is we just want to solve for r. And so I'm going to write 4,200 equals 4 pi r cubed divided by 3. What do you think the first step would be here in order to get rid of, or to get r by itself? Kyle. Very good. Multiply 3 to both sides. So we eliminate fractions by multiplying by whatever the common denominator would be, in this case 3. And so when I multiply 3 on this side, it cancels it out, and over here we're going to multiply by 3. And so let's go ahead and put that into our calculators, and we go 4,200 times 3, and what do we get? 12,600 equals 4 pi r cubed. What should I do now? What? You could, but even easier, you could just divide both sides. And if you want to, so let's say in your calculators, I'm just going to put this in here. I have 12600 in my calculator. You could first divide by 4 and get the answer, and then divide by pi. And I'm just going to put 3.14. And so 1,003 is what I get. Is that okay with everybody? We're just going to round to the nearest whole numbers when we're dealing with this. So I have r cubed equals 1,003. How did I get that? Okay, so you know how we're 4 and pi represent numbers, right? So I'm just dividing by 4 pi to each side. So I'm going to go back through. I put 12600 in my calculator. And then I would start just by dividing by one of the numbers. So I'm dividing by 4 first. And then I normally just push enter to make sure my order goes correctly. And I get that answer. And then you can just press divide again. So it's taking that answer. And now I'm going to divide it by the pi. And press enter. And then I put 1,003. Okay. Anybody else have a question there? Is that okay? So we're trying to get r by itself to solve for our radius. Now, how can I get the radius by itself? Because right now it's r cubed. I need to know what is just r. It's where you're going to take, it's the cubed root. Now, why am I going to take the cubed root? Because it's cubed. We want just one r. If you did a square root, you wouldn't just get r. If I take the cubed root, I just get r. Okay, but whatever you do to one side, you also have to do to the other side. Now, do you guys want to learn how to do this in your calculators? Okay. If you don't have a calculator, you can go grab one, but this is how you're going to do it. Well, and some of you might know in your head that 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. So the answer is 10 because we're approximating to the nearest whole number. But in your calculator, do you see where you have that power button? And above where it has the little caret button, above that, do you see how it has X and then a root?
Yes.
So that means you can choose any root that you want. Well, we want 3. And so you're going to type 3 first, and then you do second, and you press that button to get the X root. So this is saying the third root, and then I can type in 1,003. Okay, and then enter. And so you get 10.0 whatever. And so we're rounding to the nearest whole number, so r equals 10. Do you guys want me to go back through that one more time?
Yeah.
Okay, and so on the calculator, since we're taking the third root, I'm going to write a 3 first. You have to press the blue second button at the top. And then if you notice above the caret symbol where that power is the X root. And so when you press that, and you'll notice that that's what pops up on your screen. And so that X root is saying that you're taking the third root. I could take the fourth root by putting a 4 first. And then you just type in your number. And then press enter. And you should get the answer of 10. Okay? Are we good? Questions? All right, so we're going to do another one like that on problem number 7. Is that on a different page now? 586? Thank you. Okay, so page 586. And again, a sphere has a volume given. Find its radius. And we're going to go to the nearest whole number, which it already says. Okay, so again, your volume formula for a sphere is V equals 4 pi r cubed over 3. So then we write our equation. And so how would I end up writing my equation for this problem? So instead of writing V, we're going to plug in 900 for V, right? So we're going to write 900 equals 4 pi r cubed divided by 3. What will I do next? Very good. We're going to multiply by 3. Okay, so when I do that, we get 2,700 equals 4 pi r cubed. What do I do next? Divide by? Can we do 4 pi? It's up to you, or you can divide by 4 first and then divide by pi. I'm just going to do, I like to just be lazy and write it once. Okay, so at this point, this is when I'm going to take my calculator out. So we have our 2,700, so I'm going to type 2,700, and I'm just going to divide by one thing at a time though. So divided by 4 equals, and I get an answer of 675. And then I take 675 and I divide that by 3.14. Press enter, and I get 214 point whatever that is. Well, let's round that to the nearest whole number. So what should I call that? So 215 equals r cubed. And then we need to just get r. So what am I going to do? Take the cubed root, right? And I'm doing the cubed root because it's r to the third power. If I had r to the fourth power, I would take the fourth root. And if I had r to the fifth power, I would take or the fifth root, right? Okay, and so do you guys remember how to do that in your calculator? What do I type in first? 3, and then second, with my caret key equals, oops, I was not supposed to do that, 3, second, and that key, and then what number do I type in? 215. Okay, and so if we round that to the nearest whole number, what would I call that? Very good. R equals 6. Yes. Do you think you guys can do the next one on your own? Okay. I think you can show me on your fingers once you get this answer. Good, 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 good. 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 Was it your homework? You can turn it up here. Perfect. Good. 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 Do some of you still need another minute or so? Okay, I'm going to start going through this one. So my formula for this one, when I write it out, is going to be 140 equals 4 pi r cubed divided by 3. How do I get rid of the 3? Multiply by 3. Okay, when I do that, what does it equal? $420? Okay. 420 equals 4 pi r cubed. What do I do now? Good. Divide by 4 pi. But when you do this in your calculator, do it one step at a time. And so we have our 420 in here. I press divide by 4 equals, and then divide by 3.14 equals. And so we'd round that to the nearest whole number, which would we call as 33. R cubed equals 33. What do I do now? Very good. Take the cubed root because I have R cubed. So that gives me R, and then in our calculator, we type in what? 3, and then good, second, equals, and then 33. Is that right? Equals, and we get to the nearest whole number, that would be what? 3. R equals 3. Okay, any questions?